I might put cheeky Marvel on my LinkedIn. I'm not sure. You were right to warn people that I might have changed my mind, because I sort of have changed my mind a tiny bit. I am still going to delete 60 or 70,000 images, but doing it live on stage is a bit precarious. I sort of did a lot of tests, and it takes a long time, and sometimes it crashes. So if you want to come outside at the break, I will delete the images, and maybe even one of you can, drag the thing into the bin if you like. Have you got the clicker? So anyway, I rewrote the talk almost entirely last night, because I think, as we'll have seen from the last two presentations, this stuff changes incredibly fast. And I've heard lots of really smart people kind of talking about AI over the last day, and there's constant kind of noise and sort of stuff going on. And I think one of the main skills is to be able to adapt and to improvise. And I think two things I would just take from what you've just heard. Some of the stuff you'll see in here is literally the worst it will ever be, and there will also be quite a lot of nightmare fuel. And I think no one sort of really knows what's coming next. There are people in sort of labs around the world at places like DeepMind and ByteDance and places like that, and in universities who probably have a bit of a better idea than some of us do. Wesley has probably a bit more of an idea than some of us do, but really it's very, very, very hard to predict what's coming next. But one thing I will say is that all of our jobs are about to change forever in ways that we probably don't understand, so get ready for it. I'm not here with quite such a kind of smart opinion sort of formed as Wesley to this. His company has been doing a lot of thinking about that. There's some amazing things in there, and I don't dispute or kind of disagree with anything that he's saying, but I think it's one version of what the future might look like. And what I'm really here today to talk about is my role in this as a user, and the experiences that I've had kind of playing with this technology, not with a huge team of people. There's a couple of projects in here that had bigger teams, but a lot of it is just what it's been like for me sitting and working with a bunch of these tools kind of on my own. I bought like a big juicy computer during lockdown with a flashing graphics card in it, because I really wanted to I'd done a couple of projects, and I just wanted to get my hands on it and really kind of roll my sleeves up and see what happened. And I've been on my own little kind of journey with it, from sort of incredible enthusiasm through despondency, anxiety, like a whole bunch of things. And then I think broadly, I think I probably got addicted to it a bit for a while, which I'll talk about as we go through. And I think I've kind of come back around the other side. And some of this you might look at and go, he comes across as a bit of an AI hater, but I absolutely am not that. And I'm not here to tell you at all what you should think, but hopefully by the end of this, I'll have put some questions in your head that you can kind of ask about what this stuff is and how you want to kind of engage with it. So before I get into it, two warnings. One thing I've done is I've taken the 70,000 images that I'm going to delete, and I put them into one sort of piece of video. And it was originally 4 hours long at 4 frames a second, but I've had to speed it up. So it starts slow, and then it goes fast. And there's bits of that video scattered through this. So there are some quite high-intensity flashing images. So if anyone's bothered by that, I feel like I should probably warn you about that. And then the second thing connected to this being the worst you'll ever see, almost everything you'll see in here is kind of raw images, so there's no processing, there's no photoshopping, there's nothing else. It's just the shit that comes sort of directly out of the machine. So with all that preamble gone, let's get into it. So this is the start of, this is it going at a short period of time. So this is just some of the sort of stuff that I made, but we're going to sort of go into some of it as we kind of go through. Now, when I went back, I should talk about the things that I've made with AI, because I have actually made some commercial stuff with AI. And this is perhaps one of the first things, and as I watched this, I was like, actually, this is the key to everything. This is the point of my talk. And this is just one frame from it. It says, "You are the key to victory." I'll play it for you, and then I'll tell you a little bit about it.
I am Jarvis.
I am Ada.
Two intelligences.
Binary personalities.
A single
Purpose.
recruit. Control the world.
Choose a side.
Enlightened.
Resistance. Stability.
Progress.
Question.
Interrogate.
Initiate belief. Fact.
New is for the masses.
Alternate fact. New is the problem. Problem.
Knowledge must be set free.
Respond. Counterpoint. Knowledge must be poisoned. Power must be used.
Power must have the right to exist. Technology is a barrier.
Incorrect. Technology allows us to see from afar.
We must follow the patterns in nature.
Nature is defined by the future. Our victory is in freedom is practically non-existent.
Freedom is a means of attacking poverty. The world around you is not what it seems. The enlightened believe that a new world is inevitable.
The resistance believe the world is chaos.
You are the key to victory. The more you teach us, the stronger we get. This is only the beginning. Pick your side.
So this was it was a campaign for a video game where we had two warring AIs basically trying to recruit humans to make each side stronger, and you could like anti-train the other side, and it was pretty sick. Unfortunately, we released it, and the game really got terrible reviews, so they had to pull the whole campaign, and it never really saw the light of day. But what was amazing about it was you know, and this was at the point where I had ideas about this stuff, but I wasn't able to make anything. So this was sort of the start of it. It was like, this is really interesting, but like I need to get closer to it. And really at the heart of that, this is about choice, and we all have a choice about how we choose to engage with this, or whether we choose to engage with this. And it's not a binary choice of like engaging or not engaging for most of us. I think it's like the kinds of things we want to do with it. And, you know, if anyone was here yesterday for Nick's talk, you know, he had some really good stuff kind of over to the left of it, where it's like using this stuff to invent new things, to think about the world differently, to kind of push things forward. I think just generating more and more stuff, as I'll come to, is perhaps not what I think we should be doing with it. And I think we need to choose to question this stuff, because I hear a lot of really smart, really good, convincing people, and obviously the tide is sort of totally behind this stuff. And I've worked around technology for years and years, and I know that kind of progress, you can't really stop it. Like you know, there's so much behind it that it's going to happen. But, you know, as Wesley said, we're all at the front edge of this, and the way that we choose to engage with it, and the way that we choose to shape it, and the way that we choose to present this to other people, I think is super important. And there's an inevitability to a lot of the conversation. Like, this stuff is coming, you're going to have to get on board with it, you're going to have to use it. It's like, yeah, but maybe not in the way that you're telling me to use it, would perhaps be my kind of advice on that. And this is another piece, again, so that last piece was from 2018. This was also from 2018, so 5 years ago. And this got into the Guggenheim Museum. We worked with an artist called Gillian Waring, whose whole practice is about kind of identity. And we made this with her, and I can't show you the full piece because it's a work of art that's worth millions and millions of pounds. And it's a super weird thing that I think it exists on a USB stick somewhere if you had the money to spend, but I have got a short trailer.
Hi, I'm Gillian Waring. I'm an artist. Watching me being me alienates me from me. And
I don't recognize myself.
That's why I placed an advert online looking for people who'd want to be me in this film. Here are the performers selected in the casting to be me. They will be wearing an AI digital mask of my face.
I'm wearing one now.
So again, coming at it from a kind of point of questioning, I think. And then this was something else that I did, which is kind of a tentative use of AI, which was a music video. And this was, I used this just because we didn't have very much money to make the video, and there was a photographer that had taken some really nice images, but it wasn't quite enough to kind of, you know, carry the song on YouTube. You know, so I threw this together. There's only a short bit of this. I'll skip through it. The point of the video is basically that there's a guy and there's some photographs of this sort of journey through a story, and you can't really tell what the story is. And so with the AI, I kind of imagined what was going on in the guy's head, and between me and the artist in the song, we basically kind of wrote this kind of story of what was going on ahead, fed it through the AI, and then kind of mixed that with the images. And so that was and so I've been using this stuff, and this is my website. So even to the point where I rebranded myself by sorting my name into a funny order because it has loads of A's and I's in it. I thought, this is my fucking destiny. Like, I love this stuff. But I was already having some kind of issues, so I hope it's going to play. So, I have to go back. Oh, hang on. How do we... Oh, I've given everything away now. Okay, so I recognized at this point, so I'm only going to play through once, that there was something to worry about here. So I didn't train this on anything. It was literally like I started to make an alphabet out of like Dieter Rams style Braun designs. And through the process of playing with that, it's like, holy fuck, like this model here, this thing contains so much stuff that actually, really understanding what's gone into it and how you can engage with it is super interesting. And it drew me in kind of more and more. And something Wesley put on one of his slides really resonated, this idea that technology has digested everything. Like, I think it has. It's digested everything into these, not quite everything into these models, but a lot of stuff. And if you think about that, it's digested it. It's mixed it with a bunch of other stuff, and then it's like shitting it out again and charging you $19.99 a month to basically receive the digested, guts of kind of history and art and design. And I know that's a kind of common criticism, but I can't get past that a lot of the time. And I look at it, and I definitely think there's other ways of looking at this stuff that don't kind of impinge on that. So I would just watch out for that. Like, it doesn't feel very nice to be doing that to me. And so this is me in October 22. I'd been working out a bit. I think everyone sort of did this. They played with those sort of tools. Amazing how many people I hadn't seen for a few years that were like, wow, you've been working out? I was like, it really can fool people, and it doesn't even look that much like me. And then a couple of weeks later, I found this that I posted where I'd bought a hunk of completely unnecessary landfill from China via an algorithmically served social video that ticked my psychological boxes that had been crafted by a design studio in Serbia, commissioned by a kid in Berlin who learned the methods from a $9.99 ebook, bought from an Indian YouTuber leaning on someone else's Lamborghini, and all I got was this hollowed-out feeling of existential dread. I still feel like that today. And to your point about what this is doing, not just from a technology use point of view, I think there's something just about this stuff generating more all the time, and getting more and more efficient at just like delivering a fast way for us to get things that have been made out of oil from the ground delivered to us really quickly to satisfy a desire that lasts for about 7 seconds. And I don't feel great about that either. I don't know what my problem is. So this is the video getting a bit faster, but this is still kind of thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of images. And this is where I started. I started in earnest generating weed, basically. I had a great idea during the kind of NFT boom that I was going to quit my job in advertising and get rich selling algorithmically generated weed in markets where weed was illegal to high-wealth individuals. I had a really good plan for it. And I kept generating stuff, and I kept generating stuff, and I kept pushing it kind of further and further and kind of weirder and weirder. And then I started going, okay, looks quite nice and colorful, and it's like, actually, quite interesting. And then I started going, okay, what happens if you cross-pollinate that stuff with kind of weird animals? So I started kind of pulling in sea anemones and things like that. Bear in mind, none of this is retouched. This is all just kind of raw out the machine. Me sitting there, asking for things, pressing the button, getting an image, pressing a button, getting the image, pressing a button, getting the image, feeling kind of like one of Pavlov's dogs. The dopamine that I was getting from this is like, fuck, no one's ever seen this image before. No, this is brand new. This is stuff from another dimension that's being beamed into my... And that, if if any else of you have had a kind of problem with that, sort of staying up till 4 in the morning, just kind of going, holy shit, like, come and talk to me about it. It's a thing. So I kept going, and I kept going, and I kept going, and you know, this is just scratching the surface, and that's why there's 60,000 images, and some of them are quite nice. And then, that's in the wrong place. Okay, good. We'll come back to him later. So, yeah, more images. And then I realized what I was doing with those plants and those things was actually starting to kind of create worlds. So I started then like playing around with creating worlds and kind of fantasy worlds and kind of interesting things. And sure, you can make stuff that looks a bit like Studio Ghibli, and it's quite cute. And I started animating some of those things, and they're quite nice. And again, another couple of nights of like, okay, I'm in this world, and I can make more of it, and I can make more of it, and just sort of, you know, pressing the button, getting the image, pressing the button, getting the image. And then I started going, oh, cool, I'll make another one. And so I started realizing that you could do interesting things like create character shapes in T poses that then you can unwrap and sort of turn into 3D things. So I started kind of playing around with kind of interesting sort of textures and knitted things and kind of, again, other worlds. Got quite into this kind of weird world where I had sort of robots and humans kind of interacting with each other. You know, again, really, really good at picking up styles from kind of other things, you know, just the man and the machine kind of staring each other in the face. I like these guys. I'm not quite sure what's going on in these. And then they start to get a little bit more intimate, which is where it gets creepy. And then when they start actually putting things into each other, that gets really kind of weird. I won't go any further on that, I don't think. That's just a kind of a loving look between the man and the machine. There we are, more and more. You can start to see some of the things I've been showing you kind of flashing up in these things, but there's plenty more in there. And then the world I really started to get interested in, I think it started because I was thinking about this sort of conspiracy between sort of mainstream media and kind of celebrities and just like where everyone's attention was going. So I created this like weird script that just like put together kind of combinations of people. And what I realized after a bit of experimentation, that if you pick people that have been photographed a lot, the results are a bit better. So I just got kind of some of the most photographed people in the world and then started putting them in combinations together and sort of setting them up as if they'd been papped at things. So, you know, Billie Eilish and Elon Musk make a pretty good couple. You know, as you can see, they've been going out for a while. What I love is when they start to become a bit of like both of them in the same thing and kind of twisted and sort of fucked up. So I say nightmare fuel, but Billie Eilish also hangs out with Jeff Bezos, as you could kind of, you know, imagine as someone who's in with Elon Musk. She's playing the game. You know, Will Smith and Lady Gaga kind of looking weird. Will Smith, was it probably Kylie Jenner maybe, in a sort of mutated form in some of those. Ryan Gosling's got a brilliant face for this. He just kind of, you know, you can see he sort of stands out. He's so much so that he's sort of in there with Joe Biden a lot, kind of laughing and sort of doing stuff. And then, fuck knows how I got here. This was probably at like 4:30 in the morning. Roseanne Barr and Kanye West started dating. And then Ryan Gosling started kind of hanging out with a pet Gosling, which I can't remember why. And then I started I think about 20,000 of the images might be kind of semi-naked Ed Sheerans, and I can't tell you why that is a thing either. So this is the danger of kind of sitting there, pressing the button and getting the images, that this just kind of keeps happening. And someone said yesterday that it's really important to have a point when you go into this stuff, and I think that's a good lesson here. Kim Jong-un watching basketball with Kim Jong-un. Don't know where he came from. But this is actually quite interesting, where when you get into it and go, oh, I could quite easily make a trend report now that shows purple's a cool thing. You know, so actually this, like, how we choose to use it is again, a big kind of question. And then this guy popped up. I can't remember how I got to him, but I sort of I started falling in love with this guy, and I started making more and more of him. And then I realized what I was doing is that I was making a bunch of people that I hated, and they're colloquially referred to as gammons in England, and it's basically kind of climate-denying, sort of right-wing kind of, you know. So I just started building this kind of army of gammons, and I also built another language model that would spit out kind of climate-denying facts and had these guys kind of sort of just spouting kind of bullshit rhetoric. Just, I don't know, I think I was trying to get somewhere with that. And then in terms of, and then I realized I really liked this thing of creating worlds of people that I sort of didn't really like very much. And so there's kind of, you know, fucked up British aristocrats, you know. And then, you know, I got to this, and this is the bit that I really like about AI, the nightmare fuel, the stuff when things go really wrong. So I was trying to fuse a man and hummus for some reason. I think it's because I was planning on getting a hummus tattoo, because I have never known what to get for a tattoo, and I quite like hummus. And I thought it'd be a real challenge for a tattoo artist, and I thought maybe AI could help. Turns out it couldn't. But it did make me think about food, and as my company's called Food, I started kind of making things that looked like food and sort of forcing them into numbers so that we could kind of, I think the idea was ultimately to kind of make a clock for the studio that basically just had kind of infinite types of food as the numbers, which is kind of fun. You know, grilled cheese sixes. Again, many thousands of images of numbers made of food available to delete. And Pum, I hope you're going to enjoy these. After seeing all your beautiful images of dancers and human bodies kind of doing the amazing things, this really started to excite me. This thing that I could force the AI to kind of make humans that were just sort of right, but really wrong. And I sort of pushed it through. I pushed it through. The yoga teacher thing was amazing, and I got to a point where actually I've got a full alphabet or multiple alphabets of kind of yoga teachers kind of contorted into weird positions. That are quite nice. But then this is where I think it gets to, that actually what I love about it is that, what I don't love about it, what I hate about it is the fact that AI has no sense of what it is to be a human. It has no sense of human form. It has no sense of our anatomy. It has no sense of anything that has a value to us. It will just fucking trample all over it. And so, you know, that thing probably should never exist. By the way, you could only make that if you use special models that have been downloaded that don't have the sort of safe search kind of version of things in. So this model probably has a lot of pornography in it, which is why you'd struggle to make this in Midjourney because it's too fleshy. So if you want to make kind of off-list things like this, again, see me in the break. But yeah, they're sort of really fucking disturbing. And for me, this is sort of, these are kind of where AI is and kind of what it is right now. Again, more of these things, just speeding up. And I think I'm just going to leave you with the things now that I think are really important because we're kind of quite over time. So, you know, how you choose to engage with this stuff matters. You make a difference. You can choose to question. You can choose to put ideas of questioning this out into the world. You can start to think about, okay, but why? You know, all of those questions. I think just don't deny that it's coming, because it is. You know, you'll see that all around you over the next couple of days for sure. But you have choices about how you choose to engage. And ask yourself why. Like, why am I doing this? Like, for what reason? Like, am I just trying to sell more of a thing and create more existential dread in Ian's heart? Like, if so, good. You know, this is a really big question. Like, who is the thing that you're doing or making fucking over? And I've been guilty of this. Like, I've done things, so a really good example, we were doing a commercial, a really straightforward commercial for a new bank. We had a bunch of cats that basically represent small business owners, and they all had businesses. And it's like, oh, we need to come up with, you know, business names to put on the credit cards and on the stuff. So, I'll use AI for that. So, you know, come up with names of small businesses owned by cats. So it came up with a funny name for a taco truck and blah, blah, blah. I was like, this is brilliant. Saved me loads of time. Didn't have to go out and get a freelancer. It's like, oh, you know what, though? That would have been a really nice job for a junior creative or a creative team in the olden days. That would have been something that I'd have sat down with, and we'd have laughed about it, and they'd have come up with some bad stuff and some good stuff, and we've refined it together, and they'd have got a bit better. I'd have got to know them a bit better, and, you know, it might have taken a bit longer, but there would have been some fun and some joy along the way. As it was, I pressed the button, I got the result, I pressed the button, I got the result. And, you know, the outcome was probably pretty similar, actually, in terms of the product. And I think if all you care about is the product, then that's fine. And after that, I said to myself that I wasn't going to use AI intentionally to do things where I thought someone would enjoy doing that thing. And then I was talking to a client of ours who runs a big retail store chain, and he said, we're having the same conversation. He's a nice guy. He said the same thing. He was like, yeah, I'm not into stuff that sort of, puts people out of creative work. He said, I did use it to write 5 job descriptions yesterday. I was like, oh, great, yeah. And then I walked away from the conversation and went, but I bet somebody enjoys writing job descriptions, or at the very least makes a living writing those job descriptions. So just because it's not the thing that you do, or that someone in your close circle that you really care about is doing, this thing is impacting someone else. And we're very lucky because we are able to make choices. We're able to choose the things that we engage with. We're able to choose the work that we show to clients. We're able to choose the work that we show to our bosses. And I think there's a big responsibility in that, just to think about, what is this, and for whose benefit is this thing happening? Because to go back to the kind of technology digesting everything, what I think has happened is that there's been a huge smash and grab on culture by the big tech companies. They couldn't have done it any other way. They couldn't have taken every other book and every piece of art and basically then tried to resell it to you. That would have gone crazy. So instead, what they've done is they've digested it, formed it down into some kind of sort of diarrhea-y sludge that you can then reform into something else. But that's for whose benefit, right? Like, it's not for the benefit of the artist, it's not for the benefit of those people. It's like the balance of power has once again kind of shifted ever more into the world of the tech companies. And this is a really interesting question. When someone starts telling you about why you should do something with AI, about why this particular use of AI is amazing, ask them, and then what? But don't just ask once, ask again. So when they go, and then this happened, and you go, and then what? And quite often you'll find that after the second time you ask the and then what, it's like, oh, I hadn't really thought about what happens then. And so I think, just that's the thing, that we're running into this without thinking about the kind of, and it's really hard to think about those 2 moves ahead, which is why people don't have the answers. But I think when you do it, you can force a bit of like reflection sometimes, and people go, yeah, is that what I want? And I think this goes back to something I've already kind of alluded to, in my kind of existential dread. But, again, Nick showed a slide yesterday showing that what this does is it basically just means that we can have, it means that there's less like really bad content out there. It means that all content is now kind of moved up a level, and we just have like tons of like pretty good content out there. But I wonder if we actually need that. Do we need all of that content? Like, are we better off with that content? People will say we're consuming more content every day, but is that our demand, or is that the way that the means of supply now demand this kind of ever increased kind of stream of content? Like, I don't enjoy content anymore. I don't enjoy it. And I think I probably enjoy it a little bit less. So I think just asking that question of, yeah, we could make more. We could do more with this technology. We could make more stuff. We could sell more things. We could inspire people to take more, more kind of flights. We could inspire people to get a new car. We could inspire people. There's plenty of things we could inspire people to do, but is that what we should be doing? And then I think this is where it goes faster and faster, and then I'll leave you with that slide. Thank you.